Hey YouTubers, it's Steve again. I always say calling. Broadcasting from Rescape, my YouTube channel that seeks to aid and benefit people by informing them and making them aware of their fundamental perception of reality and how that affects who they are and what they do and how they affect other people, and then the benefits that can come from knowing and then observing and maybe considering other ways of perceiving reality logically, and then incorporating that into their actual beliefs slowly and safely, so that they can come in closer with truth if you believe in an absolute truth, and then how that can help. Anyway, on and on. I don't know how my introduction of this is going to go. I seem to add a little bit more to it each time. But, okay, so today is week... Oh, holy hell. I'm going to say week 6. I got it wrong last week. I think I said it was week 4 when it was actually week 5. So I'm going to assume it's week 6 this week. But anyway, okay, so this week is about slowing down. And the reason I'm doing a video about slowing down is because I had amazing understanding yesterday, or revelation, or however you want to put it, not like revelation from God, but like just sort of like sitting down and being like, oh, okay, so that's how that works. And like I mentioned in other videos about how that's the good kind of faith, when your mind expands into being like, oh, okay, and like that's what you want to have happen, and as opposed to believing things due to anger or being hurt or things like that. So this is what I learned about slowing down. First thing about slowing down is, to have a joyful, fulfilling life, you have to know what you want, and part of knowing and who you are. And so part of knowing who you are and what you want is understanding that what you want isn't a black or white thing. There aren't like big things that you want. Like, you could say you like vanilla ice cream rather than chocolate ice cream, but if you really slow down, like really slow down when you're eating that vanilla ice cream, you'll know specifically the different nuances of the flavor of the vanilla ice cream that make it better than chocolate. And then like maybe you can use that information to find other flavors of ice cream you like as well. And but there's always these little details of these little minutiae, like informational blips that you really would just brush over, that really cause a certain type of experience to be better than another type of experience, and like how that can lead to like you understanding, like, I wonder why I like that more than something else, and why these two things conflict and things like that. But you can't, as far as I know, it's very difficult to get to that point unless you really take your time, and it's sort of like a day-to-day basis. Like, what I come to find, like for me and with my background, I'm really bad at this, but like our minds are always in a million places at once, and not just locations or tasks or things to do, but also in the future and in the past, as far as like, what am I going to do this weekend, or what's going to happen during Christmas. And even when we're not consciously aware of thinking those things, our brains are still there to some extent, because we're not, like, if you exist only in one day, and like that's your day, and like you're not really caring about anything else, because you understand that today is what you have the most power over. So you're today. That day will last a long time. Like, a lot of stuff will happen that day. The more that you're able to put yourself into a closer and closer box of whatever your current time frame is that you're operating in, like if you're truly in the present moment, the amount of information that you get from just being in the present moment is almost overwhelming. That's one of the reasons people have a hard time, and I know I did, being a hard time in the present moment, is because you have to train your mind to be accepting and open to all that information simultaneously, and it'll block it out. If you don't have that training, it'll block it out, and that'll break the present moment, because there's just too much information. And you can always get more information that way. But when you're in a day time frame, then that day you will just accomplish so much more during that day. Like, you'll just get so much more done, and like things will happen so much more because you're there and you're receptive and perceptive. And this can be break down to anything. Like, you have the option to be like, you feel overwhelmed, but then you can be like, well, it'd be like, 10 minutes, I've got 10 free minutes. What am I going to do with 10 minutes? And now what just happened was what would have been nothing. You would just been freaking out for 10 minutes. Now you're actually going to do something, because you set that apart in your mind that, like, okay, this is a section of time that something can occur. So one of the reasons we set schedules, like if you're on salary and you're at work, like however long you have, like an 8-hour day, if there's not a lot to do that day, it's going to take you 8 hours to get it done anyway, because you set in your mind, I have 8 hours to get this done. So like one ways I do this, like let's say I have a night, you know, I have a long night of meditation, and it's just like, oh God, I gotta meditate for however many hours. But then I'm like, I have all night. Like, there's nothing to do. Like, I expand my mind to encompass the whole night, and suddenly I just have an unlimited potential. And so before it became overwhelming because my mind was scattered everywhere, but now it's like that's my block of time. That's what I've encapsulated with my mind. And no before after it becomes tangible. So anyway, part of slowing down is being able to take your mind and being like, this is 5 minutes. Like when I started doing energy work, I still do energy work. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's consistency. You have to do every day, but it really only takes 10 or 15 minutes a day, or 5 minutes a day, or even 2 minutes. Like, if you do 2 minutes, it's like infinitely times better than doing nothing. So I'd go on my 15-minute breaks, and it was beautiful because only having 15 minutes made it bite-sized and easily manageable, so that when I was able to do my energy work, I got so much done. And eventually my mind was trained. I didn't need to clock anymore. I knew, like, with like 2 minutes left, I was like, oh, time to go back. It was just in my brain. I trained myself to know exactly how much of that time, how much it felt like. And I could do that by slowing down. And the other thing about slowing down is you'll be more receptive to time. So you'll know, like you know, like when you wake up in the morning, there's 1 minute before the alarm clock goes off. Well, it's because, you know, your mind's been receptive to that, or perceptive to that block of time. It knows what that block of time feels like. Like, that's how the spirit works. It has like a feeling. Everything has a quality and a feeling, and like certain blocks of time will have that. So first thing about slowing down is you start to understand yourself. You start to become more receptive of the little minutiae things that make you you, and like what you like and don't like, and just your experiences. Now that, and it can, as far as I know, it's very difficult. I want to say it can only happen if you slow down. I'm probably gonna watch this video in 10 years and be like, well, that's bullshit. But as far as I know right now, like, you have to slow down. Like, one of the reasons Tai Chi goes slow is because you have to go slow in order to have your mind be aware of what you're doing to the extent that's necessary to be aware in Tai Chi of all the things that go on in Tai Chi. If you go like karate fast, you'll just miss everything. And that is life. Like, you need to slow down. So, which is why meditation is important. But anyway, so that's the first thing. Now the second thing is, when you slow down and you become more and more attuned with your desires, and you become more and more aligned in like your actions and how you want your life to play out, your life becomes more whole. One of the reasons that commercials will be like, act now, because they want you to be in a rush, or like, you know, if you do it today, you get saved this, because they know that if you were given a night to sleep on it, you won't want to buy it, because you'll have the time to understand that that's not what you want, and that's not what you want to take in as part of your life. To become a whole person, and I haven't talked about wholeness, I think, in the past couple videos, but check out my video on wholeness. But to become a whole person, it's not just wholeness of self, it's wholeness of like how your life is playing out in all the little structure of life. Like, I have my job, and I have my family, and I have this hobby, and I have this, and a whole person is all interconnected. Like if something comes into a whole person's life that doesn't connect with everything else in their life, they won't do it, because they understand they're going at the pace to understand who they are and what they want, and how everything relates to everything else. One of the things with my spiritual growth is I don't need grocery lists anymore. Like, I don't need to remind myself, you know, calendars to an extent, like if it's 2 months from now and I know what time the party starts or something like that. But like, in my head, very quickly, I can go through my entire week in just a couple seconds and know the time of every single thing that I'm going to do. And that's just from the mind expansion and training, like, you know, being in the present moment and being able to take in all that information. Like, one of the consequences of being able to take in large quantities of information is that now you have the ability to perceive things. Like, your imagination, like, you dream, your imagination becomes like the vividness of dreams. And I'm not there yet, but like, but when you don't have to do grocery lists, and you don't have to have calendars, and you don't have to have clocks, because you have the perception of time, you can feel where the sun is and be like, okay, it's this time of day, so I need to do this. Like, your life becomes a lot more simple, and whole people live simple lives. You may look at a whole person and think their life's really complicated, but to them it's not complicated at all, because if everything interrelates to everything else, then things are very well organized, and you don't, and the idea of complication is that there's a lot to consider. But the more whole you become and the more things go together, there's less and less to consider, because it just becomes obvious. So like, when I go to the grocery store, the way I organize my grocery list is I just walk down every aisle, and I look down every aisle, and if there's something that I need, I remember it, because I see that aisle, and I see everything in that aisle. You know, I'm not bragging, but like, you know, pretty quickly I can look down an aisle and see everything on that aisle. Again, it's just training. You know, I might talk about things that sound pretty incredible, or I can do things pretty incredible, but really they're not incredible. It's just that we live in a society where those parts of our minds aren't developed. So, slowing down. Okay, so you slow down to understand yourself, know what you want. You slow down to understand how everything in your life interrelates and how you make good decisions that interconnect with your life because you're aware of everything else in your life at the same time. Not like, oh my gosh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, but literally like you have the spirit feeling of like this is part of what I want, or this isn't part I want. You can't do that if you're going fast. This includes relationships. Um, I just got out of a relationship and I was trying to figure out what went wrong, and literally she told me, and I didn't, that's one of the reasons I understand this now, is her specific reason wasn't what I'm saying, but that's what it was. Like, she rationalized it with a specific reason, but that reason came about because I was prioritizing her too much and I was going too fast. Like, not just me going too fast, but like our relationship was not progressing at a rate that was conducive to what could be included in her life. And so her going slower understood that, and I was going too fast, and I should have understood that, but I was going too fast, and so she broke it off. But if I had gone slow enough, like a slow, like really like Tai Chi slow, where I could have been aware of everything that I wanted to desire, I may have realized that I didn't want to be in a relationship with her to begin with. But you know, the tendency with guys with girls where it's just you lose perspective, and so, but that's just something I learned. I learned a lot from this relationship, you know, and one of the things that I can apply to the rest of my life now is you slow down, like you, and even when I say slow down, like it sounds hard, but like if I operate on the level of slowing down, that eventually becomes normal, and then I'll look to where I was before and being like, wow, I was going way too fast, and now I'm normal. So it's all, you know, you can say it's all relative, but it really comes down to what you want to do. And even if you don't realize that 99% of Americans, or probably people in first world countries, if you're not an agrarian farmer in a third world country, you do the same thing every day, like an indigenous person. Most likely, if you have a TV set, you watch the news, you go to, you know, you take a bus or a car to work, the radio, newspaper, like all these things, you go to public school, private school, you know, all these things, like just from the get-go, we train our children to start thinking and like how fast can you take in information. And oh, by the way, when you're not at school, you're doing homework. And so like we're training ourselves to be this way. And then like there's this, you know, new culture of people being like, oh, meditation's great, or Tai Chi's great, it's so good. For what? Why is it so good? We don't know. It's like, it's not that it's good, it's that you're finally doing what you're supposed to be doing. And you weren't doing that before, and you don't know why. And like, so, and then we're like, you know, society's fast paced. It's like, why is it fast paced? It doesn't have to be fast paced. But that's just decisions that we've all made, you know, before we even became adults. So anyway, hope this helps. 13 minutes isn't too bad, so I hope somebody watches this to the end, and if you have any questions, post in the comments. Anything I don't understand, anything you don't understand, I don't know. This was important to me, like this was like a mind-bending thing to me yesterday, like when it came about, like I could apply this to the rest of my life for as long as I live. So maybe it'll be applicable to you as well. But anyway, this is Steve Robertson coming from Rescape, week 6. Thanks, bye.